What is the difference between a peril and a hazard? In this module, I want to talk about the difference between a peril and a hazard. All right, they're two different concepts. They're important to know for test purposes and, of course, just for insurance itself. Let's start with what is a peril. Peril is something that actually causes a claim. Those are things like fire, lightning, hail, windstorm. Could also be a broken pipe in your house. Something that actually causes damage that is going to require a claim, and the insurance company is going to pay for that claim. So a peril is something actually that causes the damage, like fire, lightning, windstorm, and so on. Okay? Hazard, on the other hand, I want you to think about a hazard as something that hasn't happened yet, but it's likely to increase the chance that a claim will occur. Think about a big hazard sign. When you think about a big hazard sign, you know that there might be danger, caution, or hazard ahead of you. And a hazard is something that hasn't caused any damage yet, but it just increases the chances that there's going to be a claim. There's three different types of hazards that we need to talk about. First, there is the physical hazard. Then there is the moral hazard and the morale hazard. So let's go through each of those one at a time. First, the physical hazard. Physical hazard, that is something that increases the chances that there might be a claim. Things like a frayed electrical cord or oily rags in the closet. All of those things potentially cause a fire. All right, they haven't had a fire yet, but they increase the chance of a fire. Also, if you have a puddle of water on a grocery store floor. Now, a nice dry floor is easy to walk on, but when there's water spots on the floor, that can cause a customer to slip and fall and get hurt. Hasn't happened yet, but it is a physical hazard because it's increasing the chances that someone will slip and get hurt. And so that is a physical hazard. Another physical hazard could be something as simple as rusted out old pipes in your house. Rusted out old pipes are just fine where they are, but there might be a time where they break and cause a claim. So a physical hazard is something that hasn't caused a claim yet, but it's just likely to cause a claim in the future. Then we have moral hazard and then morale hazard. So moral hazard, think about right or wrong when it comes to a moral hazard. A right or wrong from the standpoint of what's right and what's wrong. A moral hazard is the individual that intentionally causes or intentionally creates a claim. Let's go back to the example of the rusted pipe. Someone who is a moral hazard, if the pipe bursts in their kitchen, they're going to likely take more valuable furniture, take some of their best, most valuable furniture and move it into the kitchen and call their insurance company and say, hey, all my valuable possessions got damaged in this flood because they were all in the kitchen at the time the pipe burst, even though that wasn't the case. A moral hazard is also somebody that maybe, they thought, we need an insurance claim and we need some money, so they beat on the pipe with a pipe wrench until the pipe burst. And they do that intentionally, then they go off to work, come back and find water all throughout their living room, their basement, their first floor. They call their insurance company and submit a claim. So a moral hazard, somebody that intentionally causes a claim or they intentionally inflate the value of that claim. The third one is a morale hazard. Morale hazard is simply a person that doesn't care about protecting their possessions. They're a person, they figure they got insurance is going to cover it. They don't worry about protecting it. They just have an apathetic disregard for their property. And if you think about it, it's somebody that if they had, maybe a pipe that burst in their house, but they've got to get groceries. So they thought, well, I'll call the insurance company later and I'll shut off the water later. And they just let that pipe fill their kitchen while they go get groceries and they come back and they call their insurance company. They figure they got insurance. They're not too worried about it. But that is a morale hazard, an individual who's not going to protect their property from further damage. Okay. So going back to the concept of hazards, we've got three different types of hazards. There's physical hazards like a rusty pipe or a slippery wet floor that somebody could get hurt on. A moral hazard, that's an individual who's likely to cause a claim, either intentionally causing a claim or intentionally inflating a claim. And then we have the morale hazard. The morale hazard is an individual who just has an apathetic disregard for their property and isn't going to take care of it or isn't going to call the insurance company quite as quick as they should when there has been a claim. Okay, so those are the three different types of hazard. We also talked about the difference between a hazard and a peril. A peril, again, is something that is the actual claim or causes the claim. Things like fire, lightning, hail, windstorm, a broken pipe, all the water loss out of that broken pipe is a peril. But the hazard, again, are the three different types. We've got physical hazards, moral hazards, and morale hazards. Hopefully you learned something today, got something out of the difference between a peril and a hazard. We'll see you next time. Thanks.